Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Amber Unfiltered. Tonight I'm going to give my film critique of Lola, but before I do that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, if you want to cash at me at Amber Unfiltered Show, that'd be greatly appreciated. So, I wanted to talk to you about this movie, another movie I should say, that I watched earlier today. I filmed this Friday night, so you'll probably be seeing this Saturday or Sunday. But anyway, I don't know why. Sometimes I get inklings to like look people up online, and usually when I look them up, something has happened or something will compel me to them. I don't know why. It happens a lot with public figures too. I just be like, what the fuck? I just listen to it. I'm like, this is what the voice is telling me or what the energy is telling me, so I'm just gonna do it. So I like her. A lot of people shit on her, but I like her a lot. Nicola Peltz Beckham. She has starred in quite a few projects. Most notably, I want to say she was in one of the Transformers movies. She was in there with Mark Wahlberg. I want to say it was the fourth one. It didn't have Shia LaBeouf in it. Was it Age of Extinction? I think it was. She's been in some other stuff, but for the love of God, my memory is trash lately. Sorry, I have something pulled up with notes on my tablet here, but yes, she wrote this about 5 or 6 years ago, and she got it made into a movie. She directed it, and she also starred in it. I was like, okay, so I went to look her up, and this movie popped up, and I was like, I'm gonna watch it because it sounds good. And I was like, okay. And this was her first time directing, and I was like, I really want to support her. I like supporting female filmmakers. If the story is good enough and it's shot really well, and the characters and storyline are good, I'll give it a chance. Or it sounds the least bit interesting, I'm like, all right, bet. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna watch this today. I don't know why the F I did that because this movie is so emotional. I was like, oh, I was not expecting this. So I have it pulled up on Wikipedia. I don't have notes like I did for Gladiator because your girl is tired. So basically she stars as Lola. Her age is not clear to me. I don't know if she's still in high school. I want to say maybe like 18, 19, like she's a baby. Um, so she is living in an abusive household with her younger brother. Her brother is 9, I believe. And his name is Arlo. So she her mom is kind of trash. Like, and they also have, I don't think it's their dad. I think it's like a boyfriend, but the boyfriend is also kind of abusive and he's kind of rude, and they don't really take care of the kids in the best way. So in order to make ends meet, it's not clarified or clear if her mom is working, but to make ends meet, she works as a uh, I don't want to say stripper. She works as an exotic dancer, I'll say that. And she also works at a convenience store or a grocery store, to kind of make ends meet and take care of her brother. So she also struggles with cocaine use. She's an addict, and it seems in the beginning of the movie it is a little bit stiff. She is a little bit numb or aloof, and I was like, I'm not sure where this is going. I almost wanted to turn it off, but I'm glad I stuck it out. The story was interesting to me, so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna keep piling through, and then it progressively got better, and I was like, oh, this bitch really went there. So what's interesting is that her brother is kind of he's gender fluid, and he is a boy, but I think he identifies more with his feminine side. So he wears like, more feminine jewelry, like, kind of like the Taylor Swift friendship bracelets, but more like with girlier colors or more feminine colors. He likes to wear makeup. He's got longer hair, wearing not women's clothes, girls' clothes, like, more like a cami or a spaghetti strap that has more of like a feminine feel to it. And the mom absolutely hates that. So Lola is in the bathroom at her convenience store job, and she sees an ad in a magazine for a creative school in Dallas, and she's like, oh my god, I'm gonna send Arlo here because he is creative. He like draws and does other things. And she's like, I want to get him out of here, and this is the best bet. Also, she has a best friend named Babina. She's a black girl played by Raven Goodwin, who's I've been watching since I was a kid. I want to say she was like on Jess Jordan. Was she on Single Black Female on Lifetime? She's been in a bunch of stuff. Like if you Google her, you'll immediately recognize her face. And then she's got a on and off again boyfriend named Malachi. He also deals drugs, so she gets free cocaine from him. So that is pretty interesting. So they're at the store, and then he gives her some more. They snort or whatever. And so yeah, so one night I think her mom gets physical with her brother, and she's like, touch him again and I'll fucking kill you. Like, Lola is that girl. Like, what I love about her character, even though she's very erratic, I love the fact that she stands up for her brother, and she doesn't take any shit from anybody, and she's very protective over him, and she embraces him to tap into his femininity, tap into his queerness. I really like that. Even though, it is a really young age, 9 is super young. If you know, you know. I don't want to tell anybody what to do on their journey to identification. But I really liked how protective she was and how maternal she was to her brother, and that's something that I can identify with, especially more so with my biological brother, because I definitely felt like a lot of times I felt like I was his mom. I was very protective over him and tried really hard to look out for him and do for him, even though I didn't feel like anybody was really doing for me or looking out for me. I tried the best I could to protect him from a lot of what happened in our childhood. I didn't, some stuff I just couldn't, like physical abuse. What can you really do? You live there, you don't have anywhere else to go. You kind of just have to deal with it, right? But, looking out for him, waking him up for school, making sure his homework was done, cooking food for him, washing his clothes, like I really did want what was best for him. But anyway, so yeah, there's another scene where uh, Lola is coming home from work at the strip club, and she hears her mom getting into it with Arlo, and she's like beating him up because I guess he tried on a bathing suit at school and was using the girls' bathroom, and I think she was publicly embarrassed. So it's just like, you're like shaming me. And to add insult to injury, their mom is a narcissist, and she's super religious, and she imposes her beliefs on her kids, and they don't fit the ideal or Christian image for her. So that's what's really interesting. Also, I was gonna say there was a really funny scene where her mom went to church, and she kind of was getting into a little passive aggressive spat with one of the other churchgoers, and she got these donuts to say God on them. Like she had G and D, and then like the little hole in the middle. It was pretty funny. And then she like takes a bite out of the donut, and it's like she's only applying some of the Christian beliefs, and then she's like being really nasty and abusive to her kids. It's like kind of offsetting it. And that was something that I was super confused about when I was a kid, because my birth mom was actually pretty religious and identified as Christian. We went to church every Sunday. And but then I felt like it was like kind of counterproductive, because then she would do this really mean or spiteful shit or abusive shit, and it was just like like, so that made me conflicted about being religious and practicing a faith because of that. Not to say that anybody shouldn't, but now I'm more spiritual based. I think that was part of it, because I was very confused how you were supposed to be adopting these principles and enacting them, but then you pick and choose which ones to do. So that was kind of interesting how she, as a director, Nicola, talked about religious like zealots basically. So then they go spend the night with Babina, and I think it's her mom or her grandmother, because she seemed a little bit elderly. Pearl is Babina's mom, and Babina's like, just come stay with us, like don't worry about anything, like you. And she's like, I can't leave Arlo here, and she's like, bring Arlo too, like we love him, it's fine. So also what's interesting is at the club, there's a older black stripper that she's kind of, you could tell there's a little bit of animosity, but Lola kind of tries to keep to herself. So she was like, hey, what do I have to do to get more money? And she's like, you need to go in the back room, because Lola was dancing on the stage, but she wasn't, we didn't see her stripping. She was like in lingerie and putting her makeup on, but it's implied that she does take her clothes off and reveal her body. But the stripper was like, I forget her name. She was like, you got to go to the back room. You got to put out, basically. And she's like, oh, so she tries it because she wants to get more money to get her up and get her and her brother out, especially him. She's more concerned about him than herself, which shows her selfless and protective side and her maternal side. And so she tries it, and the guy is just like, lay down. Like he's all calm at first, and then he chokes her, and he's got the money in his hand. And he's like, you gotta earn it. And then she's like, never mind, I don't fucking want it. And he's like, drop your top, and she does it, and then she gets the money, but she feels so shameful. And that was such an interesting thing, because I'm like, even if you're doing sex work, you should be in control, and there shouldn't be any violation let me back up. There should be no violation. If a sex worker decides she wants to have sex or she does not, that does not dictate you being violent to her. I think sex work is a real job. It is something that pays the bills. I admire them, because it's the art of seduction. That is a skill. I feel like not everybody has it. And to make yourself attractive and make people fall in love with this fantasy or idea of you, I think that's an incredible job, but maybe I'm biased on that. I really don't give a fuck if someone else feels otherwise. But anyway, so there's something else I wanted to talk about. The set And the color scheme of the shots and the makeup and hair is very 2000s. It is so Y2K. I love it. She did a great job. Her and her team did a great job of making that come to life. And it is shot in Cali. It doesn't really tell you, but the palm trees in the setting kind of give it away. But what I love is her makeup. She kind of wears her makeup as an armor. There's a lot of close-up shots of her putting on her makeup, and her makeup is very heavy and dark. And then as we progress through the movie, it gets lighter and lighter, and she starts taking it away. So I wonder if it's representing like her mental state, excuse me, and her vulnerability. I actually thought she did a really great job with that. Like, it's very like heavy eyeshadow, very heavy blush, loads of lip gloss or lipstick, and then she slowly starts paring it back because I think she's getting to the root of herself. So anyway, Arlo and Lola are staying with Babina and her mom, Pearl. And their mom, Mona, I believe, the religious fanatic, calls and she's like, you need to bring him home. And she's like, no, like you didn't really want him anyway. Like, I'm going to take care of him. She's like, you can't effing kidnap my kid. And so while, what was I going to say? Oh, let me back up. I'm sorry. Lola and Arlo stay there for a little bit, and then Arlo's like, hey, we got to get Mikey. Mikey is their the and they're kind of the main ones that take care of him because he's being neglected by their parents. So he's like, you got to get him right now. And Lola's like, okay, I got you. I'm going to go get him. Oh, this scene breaks my heart. Sorry, trigger warning. Even though it was a rough scene, the way it was conveyed was so beautiful and raw to me, and I respected her as a filmmaker for that. So she goes to get the dog. She sneaks in. She gets a couple of items of clothing, for work, and she's confronted by, I don't know if he's her stepdad, so her mom's boyfriend, Trick. He ain't shit. He's scummy. And he's just as abusive too. It's more like verbal abuse, and then the physical abuse is implied. And also to point out, Mona and Lola have a very contentious relationship. She fucking hates her daughter. Everything she does is wrong. She's basically from the pit of hell, basically. So she goes to get the dog, and she's confronted by Trick, and he R-words her. And that scene was so devastating because it made me wonder how long had he been looking at her like that, and he was just almost waiting for the right chance. And she needed her mother to protect her. I don't remember if her mom was in the house, but Trick said she wasn't, but I feel like she was asleep, and she was like, I'm gonna wake her up. And then he was like, she's not here. And then she didn't know he was going to do that. She was doing something for her brother who she loved so much. And in that moment, her protection and her guard was down because she was so busy worried about him that she couldn't see this coming. And it wasn't her fault, but it was just such a raw scene. And then she just like loses it, and she doesn't tell anybody. She just holds it in. And I feel like as a person who has experienced that, you hold it close to your chest because you're so ashamed and you feel like it's your fault. And then you just feel so disgusted, and you're like, I can't believe this happened to me. How did this happen to me? Why did I let this happen to me? But it's not your fault. It says a lot more about that person than it does you. So anybody who's gone through that, it is not your fault. You can live a good quality of life. You can heal from it, and it is possible to live a good quality of life and live your best life or a better quality of life. So there's a scene where she goes home back to Babina's house, and she's like stripped down, and she takes off her underwear, and there's like blood in her underwear, and it was just so potent. Like, it was such a poignant scene. It just hit me right in the heart. I was like, oh my God, it hit me in all the feels. And so what was I gonna say? Mona comes to get, so she goes back to work, and she starts wilding out. She starts taking more drugs. She also starts going in the back room a lot more. Like, she's so numb. She's like a shell of herself. That's what it feels like to be assaulted. You're like a shell of yourself because the person you were before, you're not that same person after the violation. So Mona comes to get Arlo while she's working at the strip club, Lola, and this scene broke my heart too. Just again, the rawness of it. I'm telling you, at first it's very slow, like the first 30 to 45 minutes, you're like, bitch, where is this going? Then it really picks up. And then when it does, you're like, oh God damn. So she takes Arlo home, and she cuts off his beautiful hair. And she's like, I'm doing this because I love you. And he's just sitting there so distraught, so emotional. And I just felt bad for this little kid. He looked good with the haircut, but it wasn't what he wanted. He wanted to create his image. He wanted to lean into his queerness, his femininity, and he wasn't allowed to because she was forcing beliefs on him that didn't need to be forced on him to begin with. So he sees himself in the mirror, and he fucking utterly hates his reflection. Trigger warning again, loss of a child. I was like, ooh, the grief is a real thing. So he runs away from home. He's running in the dark. Keep in mind, this is at nighttime. He's running in the dark, and I'm like, baby, is he by? I was like, he gonna get hit by a car. Sure enough, he gets hit by the fucking car, and then he dies. Oh my God, just the way it happened. Lola was so distraught. They're like, hey, Lola, you have a call. She's like in the back room or whatever. They're like, hey, you have a call. And she goes to the hospital. Do you know what her fucking mom does? She's like, bitch, it's your fault. Everything is your fault. You made him this way. This wouldn't have happened because of you. She puts all the blame on her daughter. She takes no accountability, doesn't ask her if she's okay, doesn't give her a shoulder to cry on, doesn't wipe her tears, doesn't do anything. And Lola she just breaks. Like, it was just so sad. So then she's like in the bathroom snorting again, but snorting like more than she normally does. And I was just like, oh, like she just becomes numb because her reason for living was him. And what was crazy was there was a scene where Babina and Malachi, the boyfriend, ex-boyfriend drug dealer, what was it? They're like at a diner or something, and she goes to make a phone call on a payphone, and she's calling the school, the creative school I told you guys about, to see about the status of his application. And she hadn't told her brother yet. She was going to surprise him with the trip. So she's like, yeah, we can come down in a few weeks. Like, we'll be there. I should have known right then and there, whenever they make future plans for a character that is so beloved and so tender like that, usually they're going to get killed or something bad's going to happen to them. It just broke my heart because I was like, he has so much potential, and she wanted to give that better life to him. But it wasn't her responsibility to. Her mom failed her so hard. Also, the dynamic between her and the boyfriend Malachi was so interesting. I kind of low-key felt like I was watching like a fever dream or a longer episode of Euphoria, which is so bad because he kind of reminded me of Fesco, rest in peace, Angus Cloud. Just the way he played him, because he had like that urban, like street kind of, I don't like to say urban, but kind of had like that edge to him. Like, hey yo, shorty, hey yo, ma, like, but it was a white boy doing it, and I was just like, But they played, each other really well. They played off of each other really well. But they were together, and I guess he had cheated, slept with someone else, and that's kind of where her barrier was. And she was just like, you're good for drugs, you're good for a good time, not a long time. So she kind of had like been teasing him a little bit, like, oh, we can do coupley things. Like, there's a scene where before Arlo dies, sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. There's a scene before Arlo dies where they're at Babina's house, Malachi and Lola, and she's like, can you play with my hair? And it's like they have that romantic tension or that chemistry, but she only lets him in but so far, and that's something else I can relate to, because sometimes I feel like I'm like that with my husband, just because I think I'm just like, I want to let my guard down, but I'm like, nah, like, I don't know why. It's hard for me to really like let people in. I'm just like, I keep you at this distance, which is so bad. I want to work on it. I plan to work on it because I do want to be more open and be more closer to people, but it'll take me time. But yeah, so she's like, well, you fucked another bitch. And he's like, well, you wouldn't fuck me. And it was just like interesting. And then there's a scene too where they get into it because he's like, you show your body to complete strangers, but you won't even give me that other part of you. Like, let me connect with you on a different level. And she's like, bitch, I do this for money. And it's just like, yeah, she does do it for money. It's her job. Like, she doesn't have a lot of opportunities, not sure about her education status and things like that. And she's just trying to do better and get better, and this is the only way she feels like she can get it. But it was very interesting. So after Arlo dies, like I said, she goes deeper into she just spirals. And so she's just in bed, like grieving, like she doesn't eat, sleep, shit, nothing. Like she just loses it, and she lost her heartbeat. So Babina's like, sis, we need to get you up, we need to wash your face, we need to get you moving. And she's like, where's Malachi? And so Babina's like, I was going to try to help you, but she's like, I'll call Malachi over. So Malachi comes over, and I'm thinking it's because she wants him because that's the other person she loves besides Babina and Arlo. No, the bitch wants drugs because she wants to numb herself. And she's like, the scene was so freaking good. Like, the way Nicola played that, like, just the emotion. She was like, where's my fucking drugs? Like, but just her eyes, her tears, and she's like, shaking, like, I need it, I need a hit. And it was just so intense. And he's like, babe, I'm not giving you any more drugs. He's like, I fueled your addiction long enough. He's like, I can't do that. He's like, that's not what you need right now. And even though Malachi cheated and violated her in that way, violated her trust or broke her trust, you could tell he really loved her and he really cared about her, because he was like, I'm not gonna let you hit more rock bottom than what you already are, but also I'm not excuse me, hold on, let me take some water. I'm over here talking fast. He's also like, what you need is healing. What you need is to deal with this grief and this loss head on. Like, just, you could tell he really did love her, even though he did something so stupid. Like, you could tell he made a mistake. So he leaves. He's like, I'm gonna leave you to it, but I'm not gonna give you the drugs. And she's just like, get the fuck out. And it was just such an intense scene because you could tell she still loved him too, but because he wasn't giving her what she wanted, she was just like, you're of no use to me. You're like, you're dead to me right now. So then Lola gets sick. She starts throwing up, and bitch, guess what? She's fucking pregnant with Trick's baby. This is her stepdad slash mom's boyfriend that R-worded her earlier in the movie. So then she kind of has purpose again, or a reason to live again. And so she decides to keep the baby, and Babina is like, she's also like, hey, I can't raise the baby here because I don't want the baby to kind of go through what I went through, especially with my mom. So Babina is like, hey, get your shit together, get clean, get your life in order. So then the next day, Malachi drives her to like a Narcotics Anonymous, and she starts her sobriety journey, which was really, really cool. Sorry, I'm reading off my tablet here. So then Lola, she's still working at the strip club, but she's not stripping anymore. She decides to like do bartending and, you know, keep her clothes on, which I thought was really interesting. And she worked there while she was pregnant. And the black lady that was the stripper, I'm trying to see if it says it in here. Hold on. I don't think they have her name in here. But anyway, she was a really good actress, and she was also gorgeous too. Like, her skin was on point. The black lady's like, you know, I'm proud of you. She's like, you know, you're getting your shit together. And then what was it? Oh, I forgot to tell y'all too. Lola used to steal from the convenience store that she worked at, so she had gotten fired earlier in the movie. Babina's like, okay, bitch, if you get your shit together, I'm gonna vouch for you. So she somehow convinces the convenience store owner to let her back working there. The stripper, the black lady stripper that she was close with, they have a heart to heart, and she ends up giving her money from her and the other girls, which I thought was really sweet. And she's like, hey, I see you. Like, you're a fighter, you're a survivor, like, you're gonna make it through. She's like, I've seen so many girls here, and you have that spirit, like, you're gonna be okay. Like, I know you've went through a lot, but you got this, sis. So that was a really powerful moment. And then she is asked by the leader of the Narcotics Anonymous group to share her story. And she does a really good voiceover where she's like, hey, the I shared my story there, and that was the last time I went to the meeting because it was so hard for her to be so vulnerable and open like that. And Lola is a tough cookie, like, but she loves so hard. So then Babina drives her to the bus station, and it's implied that she goes to Dallas to kind of start over, and she's having a baby girl, which is sweet. And I kind of felt like it was her brother almost reincarnated, or you know, she lost one life and kind of a new life. It won't, you know, erase, you know, his presence or the loss, but it'll kind of help her get through it and be able to love something else and still love and honor his memory, which was really beautiful. So Babina and Lola, you know, say goodbye, and it's a very emotional moment. And she's like, thank you so much for helping me and believing in me and just being there for me. And it was so sweet. And she's like, you'll come visit us, right? And she's like, yeah, girl, I got you. Like, it's on period. And then, so her and her daughter, they don't say the daughter's name, but I'm thinking it's probably named after her brother, Arlo. They're at the carnival, they're on the carousel, and Lola's smiling. She's got color in her cheeks. She's come back to life. Her daughter has reinvigorated her. And you see Malachi on the like horse carousel thingy. I don't know what the fuck it's called, the merry-go-round. And it seems like she's got her happy place. There was some other moments, you know, in the movie that were like, oh my God, but kind of like the exposition, or like where it really picked up was the R word scene, unfortunately. Actually, her going to go get the dog, and then that scene happening, and then Arlo being killed. Like, it was just, it was like boom, boom, boom. And it was like she lost so much. She was such a good character. Like, she was so brave. She didn't give a fuck, but then she did give a fuck at the same time. It was very interesting, but I love the way that she played her. I actually really liked the movie. I would say it's about a 7.5. I think it was a lot better than Gladiator 2. If you have a chance, check it out. Again, make sure you take care of yourself mentally before you watch this movie. If you are a victim of SA or any type of abuse, you know, child abuse, sexual, anything like that, just make sure you prep yourself to watch that. And if you can't watch it, I completely understand. But I think you guys should check it out. It came out earlier this year, February 9th. I don't really remember hearing anything about it, but I told you I got an inkling to look up her, and then I landed on this movie. I guess the universe was pointing me to this movie for some reason, but I genuinely liked the movie. I'm glad I hung in there. The set design was really cool. The characters were really interesting. I liked some of the themes that they talked about, like religion, sexual identity. I liked, how they kind of, I was so surprised that she kept the baby, because I know that she and Trick, the boyfriend of her mom, didn't have the best relationship. Oh, also there was a scene too, with the mom. Her mom just did the most crucial, heinous shit to her, like evil, fucked up shit. And I was like, bro, I can relate. Maybe not on that level, but I remember there was a scene at the end when she was still pregnant and she had went back to working at the convenience store, and her mom came in and was like, oh, the rumors are true, basically, like, you're a little slut. Like, it was just so interesting. And she's like, I'm not gonna be like you. I'm not gonna do this shit to my daughter. So then she said something smart, and Lola got the last word. She was like, oh, I guess Trick. Oh, because her mom was so fucking evil and was like, oh, I bet you don't know who the daddy is. Like, she out here hoeing. And it's like, even if she was, like, she putting food on the table. Like, sis, she taking better care of your son when he was alive than you were. So shut the fuck up. But anyway, I hate when kids are put in positions where they have to be the responsible party and like the parent. And then the parent is like the kid. They just can't get out of their own way. Like, that's something else I could totally relate to. But she was like, I guess Trick didn't tell you. And she's like, Trick didn't tell me what? And she's like, he R-worded me. And the mom was like, you're fucking lying. And I was like, the fact that she didn't believe her daughter just broke my heart. But I was like, oh, so many women go through this. They try to communicate that someone that's close to the family has violated them, and no one believes them. And that just made me so sad for her. But I was happy she got to find her happiness again and create a better life for herself. She kind of got to live the life that Arlo should have lived, if that makes sense. Her and her daughter and Malachi, they got out of their like little shithole town. I wish Babina had come with them too, but I think her mom was elderly and had like some issues, so she probably stayed behind to take care of her, because I feel like Babina definitely could have thrived. Maybe it's implied that Babina will come out there once, things get settled with her mom. But it was a really good movie. I like that for her first time debut. A lot of people shit on her because her family is wealthy. Nicola Peltz Beckham. She's also married to Brooklyn Beckham. He's one of the sons of Victoria and David Beckham. Obviously, we know who they are. Victoria Beckham's a super famous model, was in the Spice Girls, and David Beckham, world-renowned soccer player, businessman, all the things. But they're like, oh, she's a Nepo baby. And I'm like, so what the fuck? So what? Like, she's out here doing art. She's doing what she really wants to love. But her parents didn't want her to go into acting. Her dad is like a billionaire investor / businessman, and her mom is like a model. And she's got like 7 or 8 siblings. Like, but I've always liked her. I don't know what it is. She gives me like cool it girl. Like, she's very pretty, but I think she has a lot more to offer. Kind of reminds me of Zoe Kravitz in the sense of you're following in the footsteps of these really powerful people, and they just happen to be your parents, and then you're trying to carve out your own path. But I'm so glad I watched this movie. I hope you guys give it a chance. Again, it is slow in the beginning. You do have to exercise patience, but I think the way she shot it in the beginning was deliberate, to kind of show you what she was going through, that made her feel like she had to go numb, that she had to be stiff, that she couldn't, again, almost similar to Paul Mescal's character in Gladiator 2, had to kind of be cut off and numb to just survive. Like, she couldn't be soft, she couldn't be vulnerable, because if she was, then some wild shit was gonna happen with her mom. But her mom was just a fucking hoot. Some of the stuff she said to her was hitting, like basically, like, I wish it was you versus my son that was dead. And just, her mom was so evil and nasty, but that said a lot about her. She was just projecting on her daughter instead of stopping, the cycle. She repeated it. So I'm so glad that Lola had a daughter and was able to change the narrative and change the family tree in that sense, especially with the mother-daughter relationships. But yeah, a lot of people were just like, oh, this movie is trash. She's a Nepo baby. She's rich. She didn't grow up in poverty. But Nicola, she said she had been working on this story since she was 23. She's now 29. She worked on this for 6 years. She didn't plan to direct it. She knew she wanted a female director, but she didn't expect to. I think what happened was she just started free writing. Like, she just was going off in her journal, because she writes journals for all her characters. And she shared it with her acting coach, who she's had since she was like 15. And they were like, you need to turn this into something. Like, you need to tighten it up and make it into a real full-fledged story and like put it on screen. So she, just wrote this thinking that it was more personal for her. I feel like a lot of writers do that. We write stuff for ourselves, and then we're like, I'm just keep this close to the chest. I'm gonna not share it with people. But then it becomes something bigger than you. And kind of same with Zoe Kravitz. Again, similarities. So her acting coach inspired her to go ahead and like put more emphasis into it and make it come to life. And then I think oh God, what was he, like a casting director or something that she had been working with again for a really long time since she was younger, was like, hey, you should direct this. I think it was a producer or something, I can't remember, and she was like, what? And then she ended up starring in it because they were like, you're the one that has created these characters, you have a connection to them, you what was I gonna say, you that's your baby, like you can't just give that away to anybody. So then she ended up directing it, and she even said, she was like, I know I didn't grow up in poverty, but she was like, I want to see someone else's worldview. She was like, as an actor, I'm interested in other characters, other worlds, other experiences. And I actually really respected her for it, and I was like, this are interesting choices that she made creatively. But I'd watch another movie that she made, her and Zoe Kravitz. Like, I want to support both of them, and they're still pretty new, like they're still pretty young. They could probably create some really great iconic work in the future. I think both of those films actually do a great job of talking about like sexuality and womanhood and like friendships, but like love, friendships that are a different form of love, because I think the people in her support system really helped her get to where she was at. Even though in Blink Twice, it wasn't exactly the same, there was kind of a sisterhood that was able to help them get free off the island and off of Slater King's like trap, basically. But anyway, I again would rate this movie probably a 7 or 7.5 out of 10. Let me know if you guys watch it. Let me know if you like this review. Hope you guys, or this critique, I should say, hope you guys are having a good weekend so far. I'm gonna be looking so crazy because I'm up past my little bedtime, but I just really wanted to get this done for you guys and give you something to think about and potentially something to watch. See you soon. Take care, and I'll be in touch. Bye.